So after listening to this, you might be thinking, man, who is this weirdo? Or you might think, oh, maybe I learned something. Well, let's hope it's the latter, not the former. Hey, either way, it doesn't matter. I kind of wanted to share it because I would say last few weeks, delving more into it, maybe last few months, really. It's a step-by-step process, not one-time deal, but basically about identities. Personally, who am I? One question, or is that one answer? Who am I? Is that singular answer or multiple answer? It depends. And that's what I've discovered. It depends. Who am I? Or the identity. There are multiple identities, the brain, the body, whatever. Depending on the situation. It started with a book, really. When I read in a book, I wish I remember, probably if I go through all my reviews of the books, I'd probably find it, but I was kind of too lazy to find it. Which book I read it in first. Maybe it was multiple books too, so that's why I kind of didn't go dig into it. But that book kind of mentioned that we all have multiple identities or personalities. And the notion that somehow that Sybil or, the old, Sybil, where Sybil, this famous person, actual real person, I believe, had this multiple personalities where she was completely behaving differently, complete identity, complete whole being, right? Which is not what I'm talking about. I'm more talking about, for example, myself, let's say, what I've noticed is through meditation, mindfulness practices, all that stuff. It's been going on for a long time. I go deep. I've been going deep, digging into it. Whatever I find, podcasts, so on and so forth. So it's not like 1 minute I realized this. It's been kind of a process, right? Understanding, my thought process, another thought process. So we all have, most people, everybody has our inner voice talking to us, or the whatever you want to call it, inner voice, or the inner being, whatever you want to call it. And if you say what are our thoughts, then that's the one we're talking about, the one that just said, when you're listening to me, said, hey, what inner voice is he talking about? That's the inner voice we're talking about, the little voice in your head, right? We all have it. And the whole thing about that is it depends what's it saying. And if you notice that multiple conversations are going on, one is saying, hey, that's good. No, that's bad. Right? That's awesome, or that sucks. So it's the same in the brain, multiple people talking to each other, essentially. And that's what I'm talking about when we talk about multiple identities that I have or I see, right? That means one of the things, once you start realizing, at least once I started realizing that, or noticing that, I'm still in the process. It's not like I've mastered it, right? It's just noticed. There's no, I guess, like you are there. I mean, maybe like if you're this yogi guru who has completely, mindfulness, they've mastered it. I'm nowhere close to that, right? I'm like maybe 1% somewhere there. For someone like me, anyway, I'm starting to notice that identity. There's an angry one, angry Roger. There is an, empathic Roger. There's a kind Roger. There is a pleaser. There is a smart Roger who think is brilliant, but we know it's not. Anyway, the more we get to know things, less we understand. At least that's my understanding now. The more I understand things or read about things, more I find out. I'll know less I know. Anyway, that's not the point. The main thing is the multiple identities. Once I've discovered that, has helped me a lot in the sense of addressing that as a neutral party, which is the awareness, meta-awareness, soul, whatever you want to call it, right? it takes time to get there, I think, because it took me probably 5 years into meditation every day without missing a day, almost pretty much, sometimes multiple times a day, to get to a point where I can easily notice thoughts or my reactions and get away from them quickly, right? It doesn't mean I don't get triggered. It doesn't mean I think I've shared this multiple times before. It's not about me not getting triggered. I will get triggered. Somebody says something, either good or bad, depends, right? There will be either happiness, sadness, anger, whatever, right? But what this whole understanding those multiple identities has helped me delineate myself and not get stuck in that identity and understand, give grace to that identity. Understand it's a programming, it's a certain circumstances that create that identity reaction, because the brain, that's how it works. The brain records things and tries to avoid certain situation or go for certain situation based on the body, score and all that stuff, which I shared in the, how emotions are made in the brain. All brain makes emotions, which is a separate topic. But all this kind of helped me to understand there's not one person there. There's not one identity. It depends on the circumstances that identity comes out. So I don't have to identify with that one identity. So identifying yourself or myself with who am I is no longer a thing. Who am I depends on the circumstances, situations, how I react. And I don't have to get stuck in that. Or maybe I am Sybil. Who knows? If you know me, be scared.